It's all good. You just make sure you tell him that I'm the GOAT. Yeah, you tell him that. Because otherwise, oh, hi everyone. He didn't think that I was the GOAT. But apparently, he's not in the classroom like all of you are. Welcome. Special video for the algebra students here for Unit 1. I apologize for it being late. But I had to get all the mindsets together about what I wanted to show you for the video for today. So, okay. Remember all the things that I asked you to remember or study. That is, I'm here, it's okay. The study for the Unit 1 test, so equations, expressions, that's probably the biggest or the most asked questions that are going to be on the test itself. So you're going to need to be able to solve an equation all the way through. You're going to need to be able to solve an equation to a certain point, like, and be able to give me an equivalent expression. Okay, so let's just go a little bit crazy here. 4x plus 7 times the quantity of 3x minus 1 equals 20. All right, so hopefully you can see that. I can't really see that so well. Let's come a little closer. All right. Okay. So without solving it, you know, we want to get to a point where we can simplify it and then recognize that there is somewhere that's equivalent expression. So this would be the equivalency, right, to this equation. So you may not need to solve it all the way through, but you need to be able to recognize what would be a viable few steps after and what would not be. Okay, so that might be one thing that you see. Let's go ahead and get one of these little erasers here. It's not really an eraser, it's more like a rag. So you need to be able to do that type of thing. In addition to, again, solving equations. Rational and irrational numbers comparative to radicals. Okay, so, you know, one that we, ooh, this is not a good marker. That's not a good marker, guys. It's just not. Okay. By the way, I wasn't talking to anybody before. That's like just me trying to be crazy. So hopefully you realize that. Let's go the square root of 3 times 3 plus root 6. So I might give you something like that, and I might ask you, is that an irrational or is it a rational expression? So don't just take a look at it on face value. You need to go ahead and simplify it. So this would be 3 root 3 plus root 18. But again, this can be simplified. So 3 root 3 plus root 9 plus root 2. So 3 root 3 plus root 2. And I'm not able to simplify any of that stuff, right? So you would tell me that that is an irrational expression because I've got two irrational numbers that cannot be simplified. Okay, so just be very aware. Don't take face value here. Go ahead and make sure you look at it from the whole way. Okay, and that's not going to erase well. So I'm going to have to go a little expo marker, just a bit. Just a bit. Ooh, green does not work well with me here. You go away. Okay. Let's go purple. Hopefully it'll be better. All right. Let's see. Okay, you will need to divide radicals with a monomial in the denominator. So you're not going to have to use the conjugate in any way, shape, or form. Just remember the one thing that we want to talk about here is if I have a binomial numerator with an irrational denominator, we're going to rationalize the denominator. But remember that the root 6 will have to distribute to both terms on the top. Okay, so just make it very clear for yourself that that's what's going to have to happen if, in fact, I have a binomial in the numerator. Okay, so here, and by the way, you can pause me at any point to see if you can solve any of these. So this will be 4 root 6 plus the square root of 12 over 6. There's a lot of simplifying I can do here, right? I can simplify the square root of 12, which will bring me to 4 root 6. Plus 2 root 3, I skipped a step there obviously, over 6. Make sure you simplify all 3 coefficients or 2 coefficients in the constant. That would be an answer choice if I had that question on the test. So you need to make sure that you know that they're all divisible by 2. So we're going to go 2 root 6 plus 1 root 3 over 3. That's my final answer. I wouldn't have to go any further than that. Okay. So again, if that was a test question, you are going to make sure that you solve it all the way. Because I am trying to trick you. I don't know if I said that before, but on this test, I am trying to trick you. So please make sure you're very, very aware of the tricks. Okay. Perimeter. Make sure that you know perimeter of a rectangle or a square or anything else, how to solve for that. One thing that I might do is I might ask you perimeter and area. So for instance, if I give you a rectangle and I say that this is 3x plus 2 and the width would be x minus 1. If I ask you for the perimeter, I'm asking you for adding up all the sides around. So you're going to add up 3x plus 2 plus 3x plus 2 plus x minus 1 plus x minus 1. So the perimeter of this object, 3, 6, 7, 8, 8x plus 2, 4, minus 1 is 3, minus 1 is 2. So I'll have 8x plus 2 would be the perimeter of this object. If I ask you for area, these are two binomials. You are going to have to FOIL. So 3x plus 2, because area of a rectangle is length times width. So multiply them, right? But make sure you know it's a binomial. So this will be 3x squared minus 3x plus 2x minus 2. Simplify the two inner terms. 3x squared minus x minus 2. That represents the area of this figure. So please make sure that you simplify. This is not enough to simplify. That's not simplified. That's what's called factored form. I want the quadratic, which we'll get to, okay? But you need to know to simplify that anyway. Moving around, let's go to dimensional analysis, okay? We didn't spend enough time on it, so I think what happened was I took one of the questions off for dimensional analysis. So I think there was originally 2. Originally 3 maybe. So we're gonna go ahead and just go through one problem. And it's pretty straightforward. 30 miles per hour, let's go to feet per minute. Set up your equation like you normally would. This is 30 miles over 1 hour, okay? Now we start making our fractions. So I wanna get to feet per minute. So feet on the top and minutes on the bottom. So if miles starts on top, I'm just gonna go ahead and alternate. Miles is gonna go on the bottom now. And the next conversion down would be feet. So that's 5,280 feet over 1 mile. Now I've got to feet, so I have to change time. So hours will go on top, minutes will go on the bottom. That's 1 hour to 60 minutes. And we cross out what we don't need. Miles over miles, hours over hours, and I'm left with feet over minutes, which is what I wanted in the first place. Keep in mind something. So rewind about, 6 minutes or so to when I said that sometimes I might ask you to solve an equation, but I might want you to give me an equivalent expression. This might be one of those things too. You're gonna have to recognize what the setup of this would look like as opposed to the answer. So for example, let's go for this answer. It's gonna be 30 times 5,280 divided by 60. There's no calculator here. And I would rather not go ahead and just blurt out the answer because you might lose your minds about how intelligent I am. So I don't know the answer. So 30 times 5,280, blah, divided by 60, and then divide that, that's your answer. I don't know what it is. Hopefully you can help me out. But if I ask you for the setup of this question, this would be the correct answer. Now on the test, I won't have things crossed out, but you need to be able to recognize what is appropriate and what isn't. So for example, to trick you, I might say something like this. I might have these two switched. Yes, I might do that, okay? Not saying I will, okay? But you need to make sure that you understand what the proper setup is. Again, like we talked about on the quiz, precision is important here. It needs to be precise, okay? Simplifying a polynomial. When we have polynomials, just make sure, it doesn't matter what the polynomial is, I'm just gonna go short here. If there is a minus sign in between the two binomials or two trinomials or whatever you have, please remember that you must distribute the negative sign. That's a -1 to both terms on the other side. What's gonna happen is it's gonna change the sign. Please don't forget that. That's like a silly mistake. You can't afford to make that mistake, okay? Just make sure you do that. The simplification here would be, there's only 1x squared, so that stays. This would be a -2x and a -7. So 1x minus 2x is -x, and then this would be a -7. Okay. So I can't combine a whole lot there, right? That was just not lucky. Okay. Exponents. You're gonna have one simplifying exponent problem at least. It might be two, but I don't think I'm gonna go that far. So let's go 4x squared y 7. I'm gonna go real short here because of time, because we're already at 10 minutes. Wow. X4, Y3. Okay, so let's break this apart to what we know. This is all multiplication on top, no simplifying needed on top. Bottom, there's gonna be an issue here with the 2 minus 4. But remember, if you do subtraction here and it's a negative exponent, it just stays in the bottom. So for example, this is 4 divided by 1, my answer is gonna have a 4 in it. Now, this is y to the 7th divided by y to the 3rd, which is subtraction. So a y4 stays up top because there's more in the numerator. Like it becomes a positive result, so it stays in top. This, however, with the x's, it's going to be a negative, which means you're just going to plug that into the denominator once you do the subtraction part. So we can't have negative exponents in the denominator. That might help you through this process. My final answer here is going to be 4y4 over x squared. Okay, so know your rules. Work it out sideways if you need to, if you have a negative exponent. I don't know if you're going to have that, but I would just make sure that you work backwards once you get an answer to see if it works out for what the work that you did. A lot of work. Okay. Okay. Greatest common factor. Yeah. Greatest common factor. I might go really easy. I might go really challenging. What would be the greatest common factor of the binomial? Let's go 4x to the 3rd plus 16x squared. Okay, so that's a little bit more challenging. Take it step by step. What is common of the coefficients? What's the biggest number that can come out? I think I heard it from you, maybe. No? Okay. 4 comes out, but they both share at least one x. This one has 3 and that one has 2. An x squared can come out. That's the greatest common factor of this binomial. Okay? Now, if I ask you for greatest common factor, I just want this coming out. I don't really care about what's left over. Okay? Now, I might go a little bit more challenging with you. Let's go 16x to the 3rd minus 4x squared plus 4. What is the greatest common factor of this trinomial? Well, again, we're going to go to the coefficients. A 4 can come out of all of them. Now, remember, I think in both classes, someone asked me, well, what if one's a negative? The negative only comes out if the first term's negative, but since it's not, I don't have to worry about that. 4 comes out. That's the biggest coefficient or constant that comes out. That has 3 x's, that has 2, that has none. 4 is my greatest common factor here because there is no x on that 3rd term, or the c term. So I'm not able to take that out. All right? That's pretty much it. Again, you're going to see a few things on there that we've talked about in class. There's going to be some extension things on there that you maybe haven't seen specifically in class, but you know the concept, okay? So hopefully you will be able to identify what the concept is, and based on the rules, you'll be able to apply it. So for example, like the rectangle type problem. I'm not just asking you for a perimeter of a rectangle. I'm asking you for the area too, so you need to make sure you do the area, okay? Wow, this is almost a 14-minute video. I think that I should just kind of stand here and just say nothing for the next 30 seconds. No, that's really boring. I can't do that. Okay, so I'm gonna upload this and we're gonna rock and roll. All right.